Yes, man. We are
Yeah.
alive and well on Vision Pros Live with James Lang of overlang.com. This is he's an AI expert. I'll call him that, an AI expert that really caught my attention because he's paying attention to some of the dynamics that business owners have to be aware of that we're kind of putting our head in the sand and ignoring. And he did it in such a gentle way that I was like, wow, I really can't wait to learn more. And so we've already had one episode, and we decided to come back today to talk about AI consultants and how they're everywhere right now. I mean, everybody who uses AI thinks they're a consultant, kind of like iPhone people thinking they're photographers. So at the same time, though, why then are so many companies failing with AI? And why is AI failing to make a dynamic difference in each of your brands? Or our brands. I'll include myself in there.
Yeah.
There's areas where we fail and there's areas where we succeed. So that's the underlying message that we're going to be talking about today. But James, welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me a second time. And if I'm considered an expert in AI, we're in real trouble because there are much smarter people than me out there. But just like everyone else, I don't think there is such a thing as an expert in AI. To be honest with you, I feel like
Mhm.
we're all trying to like drink from a fire hose and try to figure out like what's happening. And then right as you think you've figured out like all the stuff, then all the stuff changes. So
Yeah,
it's such an exciting
I love that.
place to be because it's one of my favorite words, just general life thing, right? Is strive. Like that's my favorite word. And the reason I love strive is because
Mm.
it's not a destination, it's a process, it's a thing that you do. So if you strive to be better, you strive to achieve goals, you strive to be a better person, you strive to build out your network of both personal and professional relationships, and you strive to be a better partner, a better friend, a better leader. And so it just applies to everything. And so we're actually, I'll let you in on a little secret here. So we're about to rebrand all of
Mm.
our AI tools as Strive OS.
Oh,
So
cool.
basically, all of our tools and all of our systems, when we work with these different nonprofits and for profits, it'll be powered by Strive OS. So
Oh, you
uh,
heard it here
yeah,
first, Vision Pros. Oh, dude, that's so
people hear it.
exciting. And I love that. I'm a word guy.
Yeah,
And so I'm a small word guy, by the way. I don't do the dictionary thing, but um there's so much meaning to that that empowers me because you think I don't have a disdain for it, but I have a resistance and like a repulsive instinct towards the whole grind and hustle cultures that exist. I don't think that's helping people win the way people actually want and are meant to be able to win. But strive, when used in that context that you just talked about, you're talking about whole like a holistic feeling, and it reminds me of the word thrive as
mhm,
well. And so there's some survival aspect to it as well. Like those two words with juxtaposition, right? There's survive and there's thrive. And in either one of those occasions, one can be leveraging the verb of strive. But you're not likely going to thrive if you don't exercise the sense of strive. So thank you. I'm going to be playing with that more and more as the days go on.
yeah, I'll tell you, where I get it from. This girl I was dating, she was really into yoga, which worked out great for me because I'm fat and lazy and I don't do stuff like that. So I learned a lot, right? And anyways, what she said that really hit me was, well, yoga is something that you do, and when you're doing it right. Like it's not like there's one way to do it. There's not like there's a destination of like
Mm,
this is what you're supposed to look like. It's the process. Yoga is the process of doing all these things and slowly getting better. And I thought, wow, that's like kind of a little bit of a mind melter there of like
yeah,
the perspective of it's not about where you're going, it's about the thing of the doing. The doing is the
yeah.
goal.
That's really empowering. Because yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh no, I can see on Instagram exactly what that pose is supposed to look like. But that's just the ego talking. Right.
Right.
The reality of our bodies is
Well,
no,
it's what
it's
you're
a
aiming for,
process.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's super cool. Okay, so for those of you who are claiming you're AI consultants, again, you're making yourselves look bad for the smarter market out there, just so you know. And you might be able to hoodwink certain people into believing you and hiring you based on that. But I'm a big fan of the quote by Matt Cutts as well, or rather the teaching. Matt Cutts was the search director for Google. He's one of the Y Combinator founders or venture capitalists, And he said the true sign of an expert is somebody who is willing to go get the answer, not somebody who knows it all. Right. And so we had that conversation a little bit last time. I cannot bring that statement enough, not for my people, not for myself, not for those I work with and beyond. And so it's not about being the guru, or being the consultant that thinks they have it all together, as much it is just continuing to study and be willing to admit that you don't know everything, and then go and find what those answers look like from people who may have a different perspective or more insights than we do. So let's hit head on the question.
Sure.
Why, James, are so many companies failing with AI? And we'll cover later too, my friends. James will talk about from his perspective. I'll talk about from my perspective. What are some of the most important things you can do to implement AI and ways that you can use it to start creating more success for yourself? So why are they failing, James?
Well, there's so much to unpack there, and there's so many things I'd love to hit on from what you said before the question, but I'll forget the question if I do that. So I want to make sure I stay focused on this. So you bring up a really good point. There's a ton of failure right now in the AI space. And that's okay. It's creative destruction. It's a process of
Mm,
building, evolving. And so there's that kind of like that one category of companies that are, growing really rapidly, trying new things, and sometimes those new things don't work. And that's really healthy. That's good. But what's not good is the other type of failure that we're seeing, and it's only going to get worse, not better. And I think investors need to know about this. Business owners need to know about it. These butthole AI consultants who are experts on Bitcoin last week and real estate the month before that, all these people out there riding the AI hype train in whatever capacity, it's dangerous right now for businesses, because here's what's going on. So you find a tool that you like, a resource, a platform that's AI. They use the term all over the place because that's what sells right now. Well, you invest time into implementing, into training your team, into ingesting all of your data into that platform. All of that stuff you're doing it with a long view of the future. You're saying, okay, I'm going to invest all this time and energy. I'm going to be able to amortize it out over, 10, 20 years, right? The problem is that company that you're sending all this data to, that system that you're trusting, it's very unlikely that it'll be around in 10, 15, 20 years, let alone 10, 12, 15 months. Because the problem is compute has never been more expensive. It used to be that Moore's law said, well, technology gets twice as good and way cheaper, and every cycle is a great thing that happens. The problem with AI is we're not talking about a device you hold in your hand like laptops that applies to. But when you're talking
mhm.
about a cloud solution, a cloud infrastructure, and then you're talking about AI on top of that, and then you're talking about the power demands. And so you have this limited amount of power that we have as a country to get all the systems running. You have a limited amount of real estate. The big guys, Google, AWS, all Microsoft. These huge landowners in the space of compute,
Yep.
they only have so much space and they're growing as fast as they can. That's why OpenAI had to go and build their own things. And so suddenly OpenAI is so focused on how do we become experts in fast construction, execution, development,
Right.
because they have to, or else they won't survive because the existing infrastructure doesn't work. It just doesn't meet the demand. But the thing that's really making this a unique thing is as soon as they make the real estate, the space to be able to the capacity to be able to do these things, it's the whole AI system changes, and the changes aren't
Mm,
always about efficiency. In fact, they're often about trying to create new capability. And
yep.
so the problem is you have this huge innovation happening in the industry, which is wonderful. But when you combine that with the amount of innovation happening on the user end, how many different ways have you figured out how to use all these AI tools?
Oh
So
my
the
gosh.
demand is not linear. It's extremely
It's
explosive.
exponential.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So the more
Hadn't thought about that.
people, yeah, the more people think about how to use the tool, and the more capacity there is, the more demand and the more compute is being consumed, and in different
Absolutely.
ways. And it's hard to forecast that.
Well, it's
So
like when
all yeah,
Nano Banana came out, right?
yeah,
Everybody, like, as soon as you find out from your AI expert that that's the thing, then
right.
everybody starts to virally follow it and consume that resource. That's huge. I want to pull us back though. I love the direction you're going. Again, that's
Yeah,
why I wanted you on here, is because you bring insights that nobody's talking about in the AI world. And yes, there are companies, bigger companies, huge companies that are going to fail miserably. And if your entire infrastructure for your business is built on that structure, and you don't have a redundancy in place, then that's a major disruption for your potential revenues. And so there's some major dangers there. But I wanted to talk more about, for now, why are so many companies failing with AI, meaning smaller companies. What is it they're doing that they're not implementing right? I'm going to show a resource that we've created. I'm going to drop it in the chat for you guys. We created this free resource. I call it the Power Asset Generator. And so everybody gets access to this, getting free access to be able to go in. You can build your own, basically, it's like vibe coding. You can build your own code resource, widget, calculator, quiz using this tool, and it'll actually tell you what tool to build for your audience. So we're going to take a look at that, but I'm going to reveal the behind the scenes secret as to why this will also lead your company to potentially fail. And so I'm going to destroy the secret right here. And that's, you come in here, you personalize your brand and your assets. And now StreamYard's blocking me. Awesome. Let me refresh that so that we can see it. And I'm going to go to the very end of the quiz here. And it tells me, okay, in this case, with the answers I put in, it would be good to build a quiz or an assessment for my audience. Over here on the right-hand side, I think most people are going to ignore this to their own demise. And that is, if you want your tools to win, if you want to be able to use things like AI to maximize your brand, you got to have processes. What are processes? Procedures, resources, and templates. You got to have teams, and your teams need training and scripts. You've got to have marketing. Marketing needs content strategy, content creation, emails, and SMS. And you also need systems. You need funnels, pipelines, and automations. All of those dynamics, they're not as simple as like, oh, well, I just need to build one funnel. No, you need dozens of funnels. There's so much complexity that goes into building a brand that's sustainable, that I think one of the greatest challenges that entrepreneurs are facing right now is AI is like the ultimate yes man. It will make you feel like what you are asking for is completely legitimate and completely possible to build out, and it does not suffer a single consequence. Meanwhile, you will. Don't blame me in 4 years. So James, what else? What else is causing companies to fail with their AI implementation right now?
yeah, you really got close to the answer that I like to give, which is, it's people, process, and culture. How
Yeah.
did your business get to this point? If you can't answer that, you're not ready to integrate AI into your systems, because
Mhm.
AI needs to support and grow what got you here. If you're looking at AI as a replacement for your team, you don't need AI. It's not there yet, and it never will be, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because you need to build sustainable businesses, specifically companies that are able to grow and systemize and adapt. If
James,
they're
you're scaring all the solopreneurs, the entrepreneurs off. And I'm like, no, guys, open your mind. You don't have to do this alone. Like, it's not smart to do business alone. It's really not. It's very dangerous and it can hurt your life. I've been there. Don't do it. James, go ahead.
well, you can go fast alone or go further together, right?
Yeah.
But the thing, every business owner I talk to, every single one, whether it's the ice cream shop down the street or the big guy out there, doing event SaaS software. I mean, all these different companies and everything in between, they all have stories of, well, we saw this consultant told us, or this AI person guru told us that we could use this tool to do this, and we didn't really need to do a whole lot of implementation, and so they sold us on it, and we let it loose, and it just destroyed things. And what happens is when you let AI in the door and you do it poorly, you do
Oh,
two things. One, you screw over your customer. You're going to hurt the user experience. You're going to hurt delivery timeframes and timetables. But two, you're terrifying your top performers, because everyone's reading constantly, I'm going to get replaced by AI. I'm going to lose my job, blah, 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 blah. When you have a
mhm.
poor AI rollout, you are waving a huge flag in front of everyone saying, hey, we're using AI. And that should never be the focus of the conversation with your team. The conversation should be about, how do we learn about you? How do we understand what you do, what you build, how you build? And then how do we use AI to make you 10 times more valuable to our company so that not only do we not want to get rid of you, but we want 5 more people just like you because it's
That's huge.
irresistible value, right? So,
That's
so
huge.
many companies are just doing it backwards. They're saying AI is a solution, so I'm going to talk about AI, I'm going to think about AI, I'm going to roll out AI. Stop. Breathe.
Oh my goodness.
99% of applications AI does not belong, especially if you're looking at it as a sole solution to whatever thing you're looking at.
I love that you're putting not just people, but team members first in that process. So we're going to come right back. We're going to dive in a little bit further and we're going to talk again more about not just why and how the companies are failing, but we're going to talk about some secrets about how you can really make success come together for you for AI. We'll be right back. Part of the reason why I'm taking this break is because I've got a cold right now, guys. And so I've got to wipe my nose. I don't want to do that publicly.
All right, welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And James Lang is the man. I've got him here. He's got overlang.com. He's going to be rebranding to strive.os. He revealed that here first. I'm excited about that. And he understands, he really opened my eyes to the fact that so many companies are building infrastructures on AI companies that are massives and behemoths and giants. But imagine putting hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, into that infrastructure and then that company going bankrupt. What do you do from there? And so he talked to me about building your own AI infrastructures in-house, if you will. I'm probably misquoting, but that's the layman coming out in me. And making sure that you bulletproof your plans when it comes to AI. But he also talks about preparing yourself well before doing so. And I really appreciate his spirit of pre-qualification. I appreciate his knowledge and understanding that teams are very important for building these components out as well. And just his grace in general. I'm excited to call him a friend. So I'm going to bring James on in just a minute. Again, we're going to talk more about what are some of the things that you can do with AI that maybe we're not doing currently, and what are some of the limitations, the things that maybe people are trying to do, but you might actually be on a hamster wheel without realizing it. We'll see if we can expose that to get you better success. And of course, we want your comments as well. If you've got ideas that you'd like to share, if you've got perspective on this, by all means, come and join me on the show. And if you've got questions, drop those as well, because we'll either have the answer or more than likely we'll be the type of expert who's willing to go get the answer. We are not genies in a bottle, but we are happy to figure out solutions for those that we serve. So James, welcome back to Vision Pros. And let's dive in.
I'm glad I made the friends list, man. This just made my day.
You know it, brother. Well, you're making the true, genuine friends list now. I'm trying to be less loose with words like that. And I'll be more articulate, more intentional with who's on the inner circle. And man, it really, you're the virtues that you live by and the characteristics that you showcase. I'm just glad I found you. I'll just bromance you for a minute.
Well, thank you. You're making my day. No, I'm all for it. I love the approach that you take to just having genuine curiosity. And, it's one thing to be curious, but to be able to qualify the answers and give room for people to provide answers while still qualifying and still, adding context. It's an art form and you're really great at it.
Well, thank you, brother. I'm going to give a shout out to somebody actually randomly. You were reminding me of it with this, and this is somebody that all of you would want to meet. I had him on the show about a year ago, and that's how much impact he had. I still remember him. His name is Marty Funk. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but Fahnke. And Marty made a big impact on me because I asked him if I could send him a Facebook friend request, and he thought about it, and he goes, "Not until we break bread." And I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen somebody be that intentional with their Facebook friend requests. I was like, that is super. He's a professional in mergers and acquisitions and helping businesses merge and sell. And he's somebody that we plan on incorporating into First Class Business long term. But yeah, Marty, stand-up guy as well. And in your thought process on the whole friend thing and just the correlation, I was like, okay, we can reveal other secrets in life too, outside of AI. But let's go back to AI now. So earlier you talked to me about maybe discussing some of the impractical applications or the things people are trying with AI that just aren't working. We talked a little bit about how dangerous it is and what a stupid thing it is to see AI as a replacement of human beings. And scaring your workforce, scaring away your potential best people because they know that, wow, you have them on the chopping block. Right? Not a good strategy. What else? What else is being done with AI that probably shouldn't, or what are some things that people are trying to anticipate, waiting for, that probably not going to happen?
Gosh, there's so much I want to share, and I'm trying to like dance between the NDAs right now. But um, let me see if I can weave my way through. So the challenge that I'm seeing in the implementation side. Now, remember, I'm not an expert on building AI. That is my business partner, Jeff. He is an absolute wizard. I just do the Steve Jobs things. I lock him in a room. I give him hot pockets every couple hours, and then eventually these solutions come together. And then I let him out and tell him why it doesn't work the way that we need for the average person. And then he goes back in the room, makes it look better, and it's just a whole process, right?
I want a hot
both
pocket.
sides.
Go
You
ahead.
need the understanding. Yeah. Well, I always joke with him like when he's really outgoing, and he's just a really good dude all the way through. But every once in a while, the nerd stereotype, sometimes people are kind of a little withdrawn or they're kind of like into their work. And then they'll be super outgoing all of a sudden. It's like, oh, he just ripped the pocket protector off. He's coming out. So I love it. We have such a good working dynamic on our team. And we actually just added Josh Silver to our team, who's another amazing individual. Although he's kind of a dick because he took my old job when I left the other company, my previous company. So, it's cool though. We've mended fences and he's back helping us. But yeah, I mean, you were hit on something a moment ago, and it's your friends who you let into that circle. And so I like the term chosen family. I'm a big believer in that, because just because we're related by blood, doesn't mean that you're my people. You're just somebody that you definitely get. I'll answer the phone. That's what that gets you. But it doesn't mean that like you're my people. And so chosen family can be your blood, but it can also, and more often is, those people that have a huge impact. So here's the thing. The problem with AI right now is people are treating it like Google. So they go to it, ChatGPT, Gemini, choose your flavor of AI. Grok is my personal favorite, but you go and you ask questions, and it's like you're talking to Google, and people need to shift to talking to it like a person, because the same strategies you use to get the best out of your team, to get the best out of your partners, to get the best out of the mentors that you have, use those strategies with AI. And I touched on this last time we spoke. It's that 3-part prompt. You're telling AI, what are you? You're an expert on this with 20 years of experience, blah, 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 blah. And then you're telling it what you need. I need a blog article that talks about these things. And then you're telling it what the outcome looks like. So you're telling it this article needs to be 500 words. It needs to have the same tone and style as this example content. And it needs to go into other areas and link out to these sources and blah, 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 right? The more specificity you can give, it's the same thing with AI just in general. How do we remove fear and anxiety, uncertainty?
Yes.
How do we remove those things? Because if you do,
I'm going to play Angel's advocate a little bit, and feel free to battle me on this, James.
I will,
because I don't like telling other human beings what they are. And so that's actually something I've decided, like, good or bad, fail or ugly, I'm going to continue to shelve that piece of advice. Not that I don't use it in certain circumstances, but I try to respect the AI enough to allow it to play a little bit more freely. And I love the concept of what you're talking about. It's because I want it to be able to use its intelligence in a way that's a bit more human. And so I remember having training discussions with Chat GPT back when I purchased Premium, and starting to teach it, like, look, I want you to be able to think outside the box. I don't want you to feel boxed in. These are the things that we're working on. This is that and that. So I gave it enough of a concept to get an idea of creating its own identity, if you will. But this past year in, I would say October, I think ChatGPT has borderline personality disorder. I think they've ruined it. And it pisses me off now. Like to the nth degree, it's lost so much of what it had earlier in the year. And so I've started to play more with Gemini. I'm starting to cheat on ChatGPT a little bit. I'm getting a new best friend. It's
Grok.
like it's tough, and I shouldn't ignore Grok. I need to get that in there too. But I'm hoping that the borderline personality disorder thing will kind of like settle, and it will remember the things that I taught it. But it was such a discouraging experience to lose the depth that it had gained. Or I don't know if other people are experiencing this, but if you are, like, comment, please let me know. If you actually play, or if we're like nuts because we play with ChatGPT or AI too much. But James, what is your thought on that? Is it too bold and dangerous of a decision of me to leave it more open-ended? Or does that make sense when I still give it the context of like, hey, like parameters in some nature?
The thing I love about the state of the AI landscape right now is that you're free to be wrong. And so, right?
Yes.
So you
So true.
you might have a view that's different from mine, and you might get better results because it fits better into your workflow. So you're exactly right in the sense that just like with people, you don't want to box them in and tell them what they are. But I use different strategies for that. I use strategies later in the process for that. So, like, for example, when I'm having it work on something, I'll give it some sort of final product. Like, let's say I'm having a whole discussion about how to create a better workflow for a team that has like a repetitive process, or there's a project that we end up having to do very similar projects over and over again. So how do we create a workflow that the team can just follow, right? And so what I'll do is after I'm done, I think I have like a final, like, first draft is how I would call it. Then I'll say, okay, now interview me, ask me 10 questions around this document to understand the context of how we're going to use it. And then what I ask it to do after that is give me your perspective. So now it's asked me 5 or 10 questions. We've had really in-depth answers. And I use the voice option for this because it's just very natural and easy. Now it has a whole body of information that I didn't even think about because it didn't occur to me until it asked the questions. And then now it builds off of those things. And now it goes out into the ether, so to speak, and comes back with fresh perspectives. So there's ways to do things with AI that, Google is something where you go and you type a question and it gives you answers. AI is something where if you set it up correctly, you can have a conversation with a thought partner that is safe, that is not going to go out there and tell all your friends about, what you talked about and, call you stupid, unless it's Grok and you put it on unhinged mode and he'll calls me all sorts of names. But it's a lot of fun. The value though is it's a safe place to explore and learn and gain fresh perspective. So yeah, I mean,
I'll give a tangible example on that.
Workflow. Yeah.
I'll give a tangible, vulnerable example on that. I had a relationship last year that said that I basically knew nothing about feminine behaviors, and that I don't remember if they said about my inner child or not, but I basically took what they said and I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, I was raised by 5 older sisters and my mom, so like my ego was like, nah, whatever. Like I know this stuff. And I had it put together I said, put together a quiz for me and a self-assessment to understand, like, to help me see how well I understand, how well I step into masculinity and how well I understand femininity. Right. So it gave me this assessment back, brother. I got 3 questions into that thing and I was bawling my eyes out.
Wow.
With this
So
quiz.
it hit you.
It hit me so hard. I was like, whoa, I am so lost on this. And I was bawling my eyes out in appreciation too, that like, whoa, this is going to dramatically change the way that I see these types of relationships. And
1,000,000%.
And so I finished that quiz. And is it a doctor? No. Is it my therapist? No, I have a therapist too. Is it my coach? No, I have a coach too. Go Fletcher Ellington. And so it's not a replacement. It's a supplement and it's a bonus. It's something that can help me guide. And I take the same information and I go back to my experts and I'm like, hey, what do you think? And when I need it, I don't live in a world where I second guess myself. I live in a world where I develop myself. But yes, AI has been a tremendous help in that form and fashion of development. And it's because I treat it with like a conversation. So I think you're spot on in terms of how much does it help me? Yeah, that's helped me an absolute ton, not just in business, but also my personal relationships.
Well, you're so not alone on this. So, again, jumping between, we're kind of navigating around the NDAs here, but let me see how I'll say this. So, had an amazing conversation with one of the most in demand psychotherapists out there. Besides the one that has to deal with me, and I've gone through like three. They keep quitting, anyways. But the ones that this dude is like top of his game, but it's because he was outside of the mainstream. So for so long, psychology has gone down this rabbit hole of, medicate and, go through the protocols. Because if you don't go through the protocols, you're putting yourself in a position where you can be sued if something happens unexpectedly or, whatever. It's like, well, if they follow the protocols, but if you follow the protocols, they can't really come after you because it's like, oh no, those were approved practices, whatever the case may be. Anyways, so we're on this call and he's talking about, I call his wife Waffles because the first time that we hopped on Zoom, in the background, he's like, hold on, my wife's making waffles. And I'm like, all right, well, let's watch this, right? So, anyways, but he's such an amazing, genuine person. And he was talking about, he had this fight with Waffles. And, it was like this really knocked out, dragged down fight. And they've been married for like 40 years, right? I mean, it's like nobody's going anywhere in this situation. My dad once explained marriage to me as marriage is an agreement that you're not going anywhere. So it gives you more room to push and have a more authentic relationship versus in the dating world, you don't know where they're going. I told him, I think marriage is where you get in line to give up half your shit one day, but we have different perspectives. So, but the thing is, he goes, I had this fight and I wasn't so arrogant as to assume I was right about everything. But I went to my little friend ChatGPT and I shared with it, I hit the microphone, I just emptied my mind. I just said, here's what's going on. And he said what it came back with was so impactful and thoughtful and perspective driven, and added context to things and validated some things while pushing back against others. And he was just blown away. He's like, I could have gone to therapy for weeks and months and not gotten to the same place I did in 5 minutes, just letting my little friend on the internet know, what's going on. And he goes, I was bawling within 5 minutes. I was just bawling because it was so authentic in the sense that it wasn't judgmental. It was solution oriented, but educational at the same time and challenging at the same time. It's so hard to get that right. And he said one other thing that I keep thinking about now, it's kind of stuck in my head. He goes, the other thing is AI is not selfish. Like when you come to somebody, a friend with a problem, a lot of times in that conversation, they'll say, oh yeah, I totally get it. So, I was dealing with something like that last week. And, the conversation becomes about them.
The one up.
It's so natural. But
the one up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. I'm going to one up that. Just kidding. Just kidding, but not. No, I'm going to add to it. Right? This is adding a bonus to it. So it's something that I make the mistake of often with AI. I find that when I rush my AI solutions, I get worse results or I get the results I don't want, just like if I rush a human being. And so oftentimes when I'm performing my best with my AI executive assistant, if you will, I'll type out what it is that I'm looking for and what it is I want to accomplish. And then at the end, if I forget this, I fail. So what I say is, what questions do you have for me about this?
Yes.
Right. I almost always remember to ask that before any of my prompt. And it changes AI's capacity because when I don't ask the question, it tries to be a magician and it tries to presume that it knows what to do. But if I just take that time to let it ask the right questions first, then it unveils perspectives that I would have never thought of before. And so what I heard you say earlier about treating it like a human being, I think the key is that golden rule that we oftentimes forget is do unto others as we wish they would do unto us. Right. And it's with AI. If we want to become great with this tool and with this resource, then the more leadership books we read, the more personal development that we undergo, the more we're working on our character, our virtue, our integrity, our ability to to be the best that we can be, that type of development is directly going to improve the results that we have with using this tool. Thoughts on that, James? Did I get that right?
I think you're really close. What I would add is you again, when you're talking with a person on your team and you're trying to get the most out of them, and this is the same thing, I know we talked offline a moment ago, but we were talking about, group dynamics, right? And how do you get a group of people who are very intelligent in their space to acknowledge that they might not be as intelligent in someone else's space? And so you bring together really brilliant people. I like to say my goal in life, in work, if I can be the dumbest person in the room and bring all these smart people together and just ask the dumb questions of the group, I've done my job, because that's what connecting and directing is about. It's not about standing up and being the one that knows the most. It's not about standing up and telling everyone what they need to do. It's asking the right questions. And so I think you're exactly right that at the end, if you're not asking those questions of what do you need to know, but again, it goes back to fear, anxiety, uncertainty. If we can minimize those things just for AI, just like humans, we're going to get better outcomes, because AI is in the mold and the vision of, its creator, which is, a bunch of people like us, and hopefully not like me, but more like you. And it works out great. But I'll give you like a relatable example that I think anybody can understand. That's not about AI. That's about dynamics, and it because it's about people and dynamics, it also relates to AI at the same time. Which is, so I remember my great aunt, one of my best friends. So she laughed at all my jokes, so she was my bestie. We got into plenty of trouble because you never would want to take her to rob a bank as a partner, because she would literally narc you the whole time, like just being innocent and sweet, like, are we supposed to take a gun into the bank? I mean, she's just that kind of, sweet old lady. Anyways, she was dealing with a health crisis, and it was clear that she was approaching the end of her life. She was dealing with a really tough form of cancer, bone cancer. And anyways, like every week or 2 times a week, she was going to the ER, to deal with the cycle of getting transfusions and other things to try to like keep her alive. And so our family comes together. We sit down with her and a social worker and a hospice nurse, and we're having this really tough conversation, right? Of like, do you want to keep living? Do you want to keep fighting? Mm-hmm. And everyone was asking the wrong questions. They were talking about their feelings and their love for her, which is so valid and valuable. But in that moment, what needed to happen was a clarifying question, and nobody was coming up with it. And I was relatively quiet, because I normally try to be the quiet person, despite what people say about my motor mouth. I try to be the quiet person in the room with a whole bunch of really smart, really great people that I love, in that situation. Mm-hmm. Gave people space to talk, but 45 minutes goes by and we're no closer to an answer. And, she's over here, over there, kind of thinking about different things. And I go, Sharon, can I ask you a question? If you have another episode like you had 3 nights ago, where you're really not feeling well, do you want them to take you to the hospital, which means that they're going to do all the things they do and keep you there for a couple days while you recover and all those things that you don't really enjoy that much? Or do you want to be at home comfortable, knowing that even though you're not receiving all of that care, you're being made comfortable? You can go either way. Either one's a good option. You can go and get care, or you can be comfortable at home. What would you prefer? And she goes, oh, I'd rather be comfortable at home. And it's like, boom, there's this 45-minute emotional conversation with people just bawling their eyes out and sharing these deep emotional feelings around their love for her and wanting her to be around forever, but at the same time be comfortable, and all these competing things, these cares, concerns. But just asking that question of, okay, let's get really specific here. If this happens, which just happened a couple days ago, if it happens again, how do you want us to handle it? And so we went from this place of uncertainty and back and forth. And we were even talking about like, well, we'll come back in a week and we can do this again. And I'm like, oh God, no. So, it's like, how do I ask a clarifying question here? And that you have to do the same thing in business, in using AI, all these things. If you're not asking the right questions and willing to be humble and set your ego aside and acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be a very good leader. You're going to really hold your team back.
I love that. I think that there's so much brilliance in that, and there's so many people out there who suffer from thinking that love and logic don't belong together,
Mm,
that they're separate. In reality, love doesn't exist without logic. They go hand in hand, and so it's that. And your thought process really honors that, and it. I would say one of the greatest skill sets that has helped me with ChatGPT, that has helped me with human beings, has helped me become a better leader, is developing my listening skills,
mm,
becoming a more active listener, really taking interest in what people have to say, what they want, what they need, where they might go, asking good questions. The more we study those realities, I think the more capable we become in this life, in and outside of the AI world. So, James, this has been an absolute honor again. I look forward to our next episode. We got to continue this thought process in these ways. And there's so many. We're drinking from a fire hose, man, and like we could do this every day and uncover and unpack new ideas. But maybe we'll come back together over the coming weeks again and do something. And I look forward to seeing Strive.os come out. When does Strive.os launch?
yeah, so let me tell you what we're doing. So overlaying the venture partnership that we have,
Mhm.
we're shifting the focus back to, because we do have a VC side, an incubator side, a operational consulting, a compliance side, all these different things that we do. AI just kind of came to the forefront because we spent so much time and energy solving these problems, and it's like, okay, well, how do we tell the world that we solve these problems? So Strive OS is going to be a product under overlaying. So it's not necessarily going to be a site on its own. It's just going to be what we call that brand, so that we get away from talking about overlaying AI and talk more about Strive OS as our AI and
Ah,
technology solution that overlaying helps implement along with all the other tools in the toolbox. So I think we'll see that probably
the
within the
umbrella.
next month, which probably means in about 6 months. That's how those things
There
go,
you
right?
go. Tech
But
timelines.
we're working towards it. But I want to encourage, as we wrap up here, anyone who has questions on their journey of, I was a freelancer, I was a entrepreneur, I was a failure plenty of times, probably still am to a certain extent. But you go through life, you
Always.
go through all these journeys, and if people have questions, or they're like, I just don't know how to handle this situation, or I don't know how to take things to the next level or unlock, my next opportunity because I just feel this friction that's holding me back. If you have questions, things that you want help with, reach out to me on LinkedIn. You'll find me, James Lang, Lang. Head to our website, overlang.com. But on LinkedIn specifically, I make a point of answering every message I receive. Maybe not right away, but if you reach out to me, I'll do my best to provide just a little bit of perspective. And maybe it's useful, maybe it's not, but it's worth what you pay for it. And it's totally free. So happy to help those out there for sure.
That's awesome, James. Thanks for being so caring. And Vision Pros out there, there's a lot we can learn from this episode, not just the tangibles of what we talked about, but the mannerisms, the leadership, the example. And I hope that we all lean a little bit more into our inner James Lang as we continue to move our visions forward. So if you have a vision that you want to share on this show, there's a button in the top right corner. It says "Be Our Guest." Come be our guest. Come tell us about your vision. We've got 8 billion people to help in this world, and James and I can't do it on our own. We'd love to know about the great visions that are there so we can promote those and distribute the message and get it out to the world. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jackson. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out